Okay, so my plan now is to create a steel effect for the trims and weaponry. So I'm going to achieve that by a combination of lead belcher, null oil, runefang steel, Prexeti white, and Marduk yellow. So what's the yellow for? It's to create a kind of gold effect, sort of like more like light, reflecting off key points, rather than create a very gold colour. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of start off. Now, get my lead belcher out. It's quite an old pot, this. I could do with a shaker basically to shake this down a bit. Okay, I'm just going to pop that on my wet palette and get it watered down a bit. And then I'm going to start popping it on. So the idea here is that I will be doing the chainmail. Well, I say that it's not chainmail really, it's a scale mail obviously. Okay. Oh, it started off good there because immediately I've gotten hit some of the red that I did last time. But good thing about using watered down paints is it comes off easily. Right. And so I'm just going to get key little parts of this, just covered up on the scale. Now, I'm still debating about what part I want to do on the main trims. As much as I want them to be a silvery colour, I haven't decided how I want them to reflect off the light. So I've actually been thinking, see how it looks with the yellow on there, and go from there. So into all the trims, I'm basically going to do, see here at the end of the weapon. Now, even if you're actually going for bronze or golds for parts of these, I personally find a silver is a good base coat. I tend to find that it sticks the actual gold on a lot better. Okay, and then that. Now, I'm just going to gently brush over this detail here. But not too harsh. Right. Now, I'm just going to pop it off the base a second so I can get underneath. It's not a good idea if it were possible to handle actual anywhere that you've painted, because you end up just scratching the paint off, unfortunately, sweating the paint off. There's no other way to put that. Okay, so this belt buckle. It's so difficult to kind of keep this pointed at the camera while getting the angle that I want to with my paintbrush, but I'm somehow managing it. Okay, so I got a bit more silver on this brush, and again, keep it well watered. When I say well watered, I'm not turning it into like a complete washout. Okay, I'm trying to keep a certain amount of thickness to it, otherwise it'll just wash. Done it again there. I've got to import a bit of paint in the wrong place, so I'm going to have to very quickly wash that away. Yeah. Okay, I managed to get that paint off before it set. It's nothing worse than doing that. Said, unfortunately, I do enjoy painting, but unfortunately, with my somewhat imperfect hands, my attempt to record everything I do, it's kind of a recipe for disaster some days. Wait then. Right. Okay, down into this bit now. You can see here I've actually got quite a lot of steel trims to do. I'm trying to make sure that I get them all on this first part. It's always sort of a bit of a job being patient on your base coat. Now, don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of video channels out there that will claim that they can make you like a speed painting master just using very simple techniques, but okay. Problem is, I paint to relax at the end of my workday, but unfortunately, my family need me to do things. So every so often, I'll get a shout out. So if I stop halfway through, and it seems like there's a momentary glitch in the or I don't go back to what I was talking about previously, it's because someone's walked in while I'm doing a video. I've paused it to talk to them, and then I forgot where I was up to. But in the end, got to take time for my family. Right, getting there. As you can see, a lot of this is about just being very patient and controlling your breath while you paint each point. Okay, I think I'm getting there now. Obviously, get these kneecap guards done. I probably should swap over to a thinner brush, but I'm kind of... There we go. Now, just these wrist joints to go. Now, it's quite interesting actually looking at this, the way that it's got these fanning out wrist guards, because that's always been something that I've more attributed to chaos in the past. Particularly Chaos Space Marines, that kind of fanned out wrist guard. Oh, it gets hot in this room as well when I'm painting, because it faces to where the sun is at the end of the day. So this room can get rather hot while I'm painting with the lights on and everything else to... Yeah. Okay, I think... Have I done it finally? Oh no, one more to do. On the back here. Just when you think you're done, you realise there's another little bit to do. Right, okay. Ooh. That wasn't good. Smack the camera then. Okay, and then here I'm just gonna very lightly go over this. Oh, I've knocked my camera off completely now. I've knocked my focus off. And then just this, the end of this spear to do. Again, even though a lot of this end part of the spear is going to be golden, I've just personally always found that it's easy, it's better. I just personally find it better to, if I'm going to paint in gold, to put a silver base. You know, maybe if I was going to do something very golden, like if I was going to do one of these fully gold, I'll probably undercoat in a combination of gold bases and silvers, just to get a bit of tonal difference for when the golden layer went on. Okay. Okay, so that's the first layer done. I'm just going to reset my camera because it's gone too far inwards. Right, so the next process that I want to go through now is using good old null oil. I believe there is a newer version of null oil available that I probably should get hold of. But just to give you an idea of what null oil does in general, it's an ink and it's pretty simple. I'm going to use it to get shade. So I'm going to go straight over this chain onto that belt. This is a really quick phase, this. I'm basically going to go over everything once. Paying particular intention to get it where I know that there's a shadow. Right. So the idea is I'm just putting the null oil basically anywhere that I want a shadow. If I want a deeper shadow, then obviously I use a bit more. So obviously, look here, this arm is covering this part. So I may want to make this a bit deeper. It's right around the back. You've got the whole back, the whole body is casting a shadow over it. So it's okay to go a bit deeper sometimes on shadows. This part here, underneath. Now, again, I'm just going to try and get a bit of shadow. If you use too much, just brush it off, just push it along. Okay, just going to finish off these last little details. Under here, and a bit of darkness. Okay, and that's it, that's the shading process really. A lot faster, you can see. I need to clean this brush off properly. Right, now I'm going to get my room fang on here. So the thing I find about room fang steel is it's terrible for separating out. Right, so I'm going to get it on, dab it down a bit. And then this time, just going to very quickly now you can see I'm stroking downwards with it. So what I'm trying to kind of do is deliberately miss the shadow. This isn't quite the same thing as doing a dry brush, you know, but it is about using the minimum amount of paint possible, brushing in one direction. Now, around the back where it's in more shadow, I'm going to be even, you know, I'm going to try and get less on here. So this, any part that looks obviously out in the open, I'm going to try and hit. But like with this, I don't really want to get any of this bright silver on that, because it's going to kind of ruin the look of the shade that I'm going for. So it's just basically about deciding where the light is hitting the model and basically just agreeing on it with yourself. No, I'm just gonna, let me think here. So yeah, that pretty much it. Basically, look, if I put it from the top there, the back is pretty much fully overshadowing that. Whereas from the front, yeah, although you can't really see downwards, you can still imagine that, you know, there's nothing really blocking where the sun could hit it. Okay, there we go. So you can see I've not really used that much of it. I've really tried to keep it down to a bare minimum. Now, my next layer is going to be a dry layer, so I am going to have to really leave that to properly soak up, you know, or fully dry up, because what I don't want to do is try and do any sort of dry paint with any kind of wet parts on that miniature. Okay, so let's do a bit of dry brushing now. So you'll see this is Praxetti white. It's a very dry compound. And the idea behind this is we use it while we're going to do a bit of dry brushing. Now, I have to admit, I used to have some proper decent dry brushes, but I don't have any anymore, so I just have to make do. But I have found that unfortunately dry brushing with a regular brush kind of just damages them very quickly. Anyway, what I'll do is, oh, I've lost my little bit of tissue that I just dry my brush off with. So basically get a bit of tissue spare. Once you've put a generous amount on a brush, you basically got to try and scrape it off. Now obviously twist your brush at the same time, and then you'll see that you're basically left with very little on the brush at all. And then we can start dry brushing. I'm going to dry brush downwards. Now, honestly, sometimes with dry brushing, it can barely feel like anything is going on it, which is kind of what you're trying to go for. You're just trying to add a little subtle amount of layering. Now, I'm only doing the kind of very most prominent parts in this white. So basically these top parts and things. Definitely need to get a new dry brush because this is not quite working how I want it to. Okay, so it's probably highly, almost imperceivable, but after a few applications, you start to get, you can see the kind of white tint. Then I'm being very concise here. I'm only putting it literally where the sun is smacking right onto it. This is why I'm doing downward strokes as well. Okay, and then I'm gonna quickly go like basically to get a bit of sheen along the top of here. Okay, so what I've done is I've applied a dry brush, and as I said, it's not like something that will be obviously seen. It just adds a bit of an illusion of a shine, like a bit of a tint almost. Right. Now, obviously, you know, that's a not bad there, okay, you know, that's not bad. It's not amazing. It's not the best, you know, plate mail that anyone is ever going to show you. There's some people who will show you something quite amazing. I'm just trying to actually show you a very, very simple way. Now, but it does look a bit flat and uninspired. And this is why I'm going to actually apply a little bit of yellow that's been heavily watered down. When I say heavily watered down, I mean like I'm basically turning it into a wash in itself. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I want to feel like anywhere that could have light hitting it is going to be slightly brighter. Now, you can do this with any colour that you like. If you wanted to create a moonlight effect, then you could go for a blue or a green, you know. See, the reason I'm doing this is if you ever look at metals that are being hit by a light source, or even just, you know, like reflect, so say like the red of the armor was reflecting upwards, all of these create a slight change in the colour of the metal. Basically, I personally don't feel that any silver that you see will be purely silver in appearance. It will have the colour of whatever's around it reflecting in it and being distorted. So I could have even gone for a red here. You can see I'm only trying to do it where I think you will get natural light fall. Okay, now just a few more places that maybe the light will hit. And see, I'm not planning on doing it here, okay, but if I do kind of just on that bit, because I think we might get a bit of reflection off there. Okay. Oh, and up here where then right up on that spear tip. Right. Okay, I hope you like what I've done there. You know, I hope it adds just a slight pull away from just flat silvers, and that, as you can see, I'm turning it in, well, under a huge number of bright lights. Amazon, light off. Okay. But then if I turn the light off, you can still see that effect going on. But you don't see it underneath there because that is far more in darkness naturally, so it's only hitting where we might think we get natural fall of light. Okay, so that's how we can tackle a kind of a steel silvery colour, but then, you know, just make it feel more real, more natural. And I hope you like that, and please like and subscribe if you do.